Every other day, he talks about going to Benares or somewhere and retire. And I keep telling him that God didn't create him to retire and meditate. He has to be fixing all these problems. Whose physique is meant for martial art, who have the natural flair. And I used to think, oh, this kid is going to get a black belt. And interestingly, Swamiji, after 6 months, they're never there. There is something called cosmic forces which are constantly trying to help society and doing, or it's something else which is influencing people to do something which is beyond their means. About 20 years ago, Sadhguru, I received a check for 1 lakh rupees from a retired major from Indian Army. He just gave his name, he refused to, he didn't give his address. And he wrote a small note stating that the money I am giving you is too small for the path you have chosen. But God has His own mysterious ways of giving you the rest. It had a tremendous impact in what I thought, what I wanted to do. Is it because there is something called cosmic forces which are constantly trying to help society and doing, or it's something else which is influencing people to do something which is beyond their means?
See, the ideas of something wants to help, something reaches out to you. I happened to be about 4 weeks ago, I was in Los Angeles and I was staying with some people there. And the bedroom was full of books, so I just picked up one of these books and saw. The author is saying, the core of the universe is love. Well, why would the core of the universe be love? Because this thing has been always told to people, from heaven God loves you, all these people. See, if you're having a roaring love affair right now with somebody next to you, here, will you look up and ask for rays of love to come towards you? I'm asking you. No, you made yourself in such a way nobody can love you. Now, only God can love you. If you say, God loves me, you must know you are such a pathetic, despicable case. If you made yourself in such a way, nobody can help loving you, you are a wonderful human being, isn't it? So, we need to understand, there is something called human thought and emotion, human needs, of emotional needs of love, care, touch, this. The cosmos, or what you're referring to as the source of creation or divine, or if you want to use the word God, because God personifies thing, we will refuse to use that word. Let us say whatever is the source of creation, which we are referring to as God generally by religious this thing. Essentially, it is just an intelligence which is simply exploding into everything possible. If you're in rhythm with it, you will rise. If you're not in rhythm with it, it'll crush you. It has no love, it has no compassion, it has no intention of helping you, it has no intention of harming you, it has no nothing. If you understand the forces and ride it, you have a fantastic life. If you do not understand, it'll crush you. You've seen people doing surfboarding on the waves in the ocean. It is such a magical thing, just riding the waves. But if you don't do it right, if you go into the waves, it's like being in a concrete mixer, it'll just do that and it'll kill you. So one rides the wave, another gets crushed by the wave, that is all that's happening. The rest is all human interpretations. This is the first thing we have to stop, that we do not extend our thought and emotion to the existence. This is relevant between you and me. This is relevant between you and your family members. You love them, I love you, you love me, all this fine. Don't look up at the sky and say, I love you. It will not say, I love you back, because it has no such need. It's pure existence. This is what you have to become. If you sit here, you are a complete existence by yourself. This is a full-fledged life. It does not need anything from anybody. It has everything. It is connected with everything in the universe. It does not need anything. But we want to play our games, okay, we can do all this stuff, but you need to understand right now, we are trying to extend our compulsions to the whole creation. It doesn't work like that. Existence is not trying to help you. You may be in tune with it, bingo, you are. Whether you got in tune with it consciously or unconsciously, somehow you got in tune. That's why Shankara said, yogaratova bhogaratava. That means somehow you do it, I don't care. Your Shankara, Adi Shankara went to the extent of somehow you do it. You get it, man, that's important. How you get it, who cares?
Sadhguru, I am constantly torn between my senior colleagues who are extremely skilled surgeons. Sadhguru, on the heart, there are some procedures which are done by very few people on this planet. I'll give an example. I do an operation called pulmonary endarterectomy. That's the blood clots from the leg goes to the lung arteries and it clogs up all the arteries. So 25 years ago, there was no cure for this. And once you're diagnosed, you're destined to die within a year. Today, people who are on home oxygen for 2 years, 3 years, you do the operation, they can go back to skydiving or they can go to scuba diving. That's the transformative effect. But there are only 50 surgeons, less than 50 surgeons in this world who can operate. And like this, we have some of my colleagues who are extremely gifted surgeons. They are in their 50s now. And some of them are constantly talking about retirement. Especially one surgeon who is an extremely gifted surgeon who can fix any damaged valve. He is single, he has no other commitments. Every other day he talks about going to Benares or somewhere and retire, and I keep telling him that God didn't create him to retire and meditate. He has to be fixing all these problems. So he gives me extension every 6 months, Guruji. So at the end of 6 months, the usual rigmarole starts. He talks about retirement and everybody is depressed in the hospital. So how do you deal with this kind of people?
You must give him a 1-year sabbatical with me. Yes, because the need or the idea of retirement enters anybody's mind because of the monotony of what they're doing, whatever it may be. Somebody else may think it's a great thing, but in your experience, somewhere it's becoming monotonous or stagnant. Stagnation is one thing that human intelligence and human system cannot take, and most of the ailments are because of stagnation of life. They may be getting their, once in 3 years promotion, they may be making little more money, all these things may be happening. But somewhere experientially there is a stagnation, which could be a major cause for many of the complex ailments that people manufacture within the systems. The more complex they get, you try to create more talented surgeons. I'm saying we are manufacturing the problems, we are trying to manufacture a solution. I think as we offer solutions, people who have already gotten into problems, they need solution. But it's very important that we teach people how not to create these problems, so that instead of 50, you have to produce 5,000 expert surgeons to attend to all these people who are on self-help to illness. So I would say a surgeon who has a certain competence and who has worked through his life, if he wants to explore something of his own nature, that would be the greatest thing to do, because he's not a man without commitment. not competence. When competence and commitment is there, you should not run him through the rigmarole and destroy that possibility. It's important that he explores something of his own nature, which will make him… we don't know what he'll come up with. You cannot even estimate what he may come up with. I think a sabbatical is good. He may come up with something that you've not thought possible.
I will convey your message, Sadhguru. I'm sure he's watching this program. Sadhguru, I believe that talent is something which is grossly exaggerated in success. It's… when I was in medical school, I used to teach martial art. That was my passion. And every time a Bruce Lee's movie was released, all these school kids would come and join in hordes to martial arts schools. We used to call it Bruce Lee phenomenon.
They're gone after 2 weeks.
Yes. And I used to see some kids whose physique is meant for martial art, who have the natural flair, and I used to think, oh, this kid is going to get a black belt. And interestingly, Swamiji, after 6 months, they're never there. The guys who go up to the black belt and, do something very good in martial art are the ones who joined the school without any skills, without any talent, who worked very, very hard. For everything they had to sweat it out. But in the end, they're the ones who succeed. How do you explain this phenomenon?
See, for a variety of reasons, let me not go beyond this. For a variety of reasons, a certain individual could be born with a certain flair, physical flair, mental flair, emotional flair, style. 5-year-old child, one has style, other is clumsy, okay? So the one with the style is not going to become necessarily a fashion thing. Somebody else who seems to be clumsy may grow into something else. Like, you don't know when a woman is pregnant, the child within that womb, whether it's a sage or a sorcerer, nor the woman know. Now, the mother does not know whether she is producing a sage or a sorcerer or what. This is because… I use the word coherence because of modern science is using that word. Who you are here right now, as you sit here, this is physics. Every subatomic particle is in constant contact with everything. What you call as cosmos is living life, and it's a live mind. You have captured only one small part of it. If you work with only that one small part of what you have captured, both as life and as intelligence, you will function at a certain level. If you apply yourself to break the barriers of your limitations that you've set for yourself, then there is an intelligence beyond anybody's understanding, beyond anybody's estimate, which is available to you. Once this is available to you, people think you're superhuman. No, this is not about being superhuman. This is about realizing that being human is super. The immensity of being human has not been realized. So we are always making a kind of a mathematical calculation. Okay, if this person has this much IQ, maybe this is what he will become. This is what Newton's law, that everything that moves on this planet works to a mathematical precision or a geometric precision. That is, if you take a pendulum, the length of the pendulum will decide how it will swing. If you take a projectile, depending upon its mass, velocity and the trajectory, it will go to a certain place. That is not how the cosmos is working, because what you think is physical and not physical is all mixed up within this human being. The physical self, the psychological self, the emotional self, and who you call as myself, the life within you, the fundamental life process, these are all different dimensions. And the innermost core of who you are, which, because all the other words are corrupted, I'll use the word life or just you, what you call as me. This, if you allow it, if you do not identify it with any form, with your physical form or with other different identities that you take on, it has a way of being cohesive or collaborative with everything around. When we say somebody worked hard, all he's trying to do is stretch his boundary of identity, isn't it? He's trying to stretch his boundary. If he succeeds to stretch his boundary, something that he never thought possible or imagined that is within his competence or capability becomes his. Miraculously, I can show you hundreds of people who come to me, we prepare them for a certain period and then we initiate them. In 24 hours, you will see the shape of their face will change. Genetics are altered in 24 hours' time. You can see the photographic images, they have actually changed dramatically overnight simply because of a certain extension of their identity. So, in the Indian spiritual milieu, see, when you say spiritual, we must understand this. This is not about looking up or looking down. When we say spiritual, we are talking about transcending the limitations of physical. So right now, the physical is here as if it's a solid entity in people's experience. But modern physics is telling you and medical science is beginning to tell you, or if people don't understand, if they just hold their nose for 2 minutes, they understand that they are not an independent existence. It is in transaction, not just in terms of breath. Even on the level of subatomic particles, it's in constant transaction. If this transaction becomes even minutely conscious, suddenly you have immense capabilities that you never thought were possible. Biological identity is the most limiting identity that you have because it limits to the area of your body. Now when you strive, you break this. It doesn't matter in what way you strive. Most people strive in unconscious, unscientific, simply out of striving, they do things. But there are ways to strive scientifically in a proper way. There are tools to strive with specific direction to break the limitations of who we are. If you break this boundary, the subatomic particles are transacting, the intelligence is transacting, only you're missing the whole game. If you don't miss the game, if you are in the game of life, not in the game of thoughts and emotions, you're in the game of life, suddenly just about anything you want you can do, not this or that. I'm saying anything a human being can do, simply if he breaks his barriers. And these barriers are many levels, but the most fundamental thing is the identity.